This is the only thing I have that's remotely related to serial killer. Alright, so this is my first television review. Talking about the show Dexter. I finished this show a few days ago, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately. It was 96 episodes total, so I invested a lot of time in it. I have a lot of thoughts on the matter. As a matter of fact, I have 5 pages of notes, so this is going to be a pretty long one. It's going to be a lot of spoilers, though, so if you haven't watched the show, I'm going to have, at the end of the video, I'm going to talk, like, spoiler-free, and then you'll get my final rating, so I'll probably put a link somewhere if I figure out how to do that. I'm pointing here, because I'm going to put it there, hopefully, on my face. So, click on my face if you want to see no spoilers, because I'm going to go season by season. So, if you can stop watching, if you're watching the show, you can stop watching after I get to the point where you're not at. I'm just going to start talking. Alright, so Dexter stars Michael C. Hall, Jennifer Carpenter, David Zayas, Desmond Harrington, Julie Benz, C.S. Lee, a lot of people. I'm not even going to list everybody because that would just be dumb. And it essentially tells the story of Dexter Morgan, a blood spatter analyst for the Miami Police Department, who is also a serial killer who only kills criminals. So mainly it's going to be like murderers, rapists, things of that matter. So he is a serial killer, but he has a very strict moral code. I'm just going to go right into it. So season 1 introduces us to Dexter, introduces us to Rita, his girlfriend, and their 2 kids, Cody and Aster. We learn about Dexter's past, how he witnessed his mother get killed in front of him, and how he was adopted by the police officer that found him, and then his new sister, as he's adopted into the family, Deb, and a few people that work at the department, LaGuerta, who's a lieutenant, and Angel, Masuka works directly with Dexter. It does a really good job of introducing all these characters. They all develop a lot throughout the entire show, but it does a really good job of introducing us to these, especially Dexter. It paints a very, very specific portrait of who Dexter is, and even though they start kind of changing it very quickly, you still get a very good sense that this is a really big change. Dexter's been like this forever, and I thought that was a really good thing that they were able to pull that off. Rita and Deb, 2 kind of major characters, they start out pretty basic in this season. Pretty much in season 1, the only character that really is fleshed out a lot is Dexter himself, because the other characters are introduced, you get a good sense of who they are, but you don't really get a huge sense of who they are as much as you do with Dexter. The pilot episode is probably my favorite first episode of any TV show ever. It just does a fantastic job. The shot at the end of him getting the Barbie doll from the ice truck killer in his freezer and him just looking directly at the camera and saying, "And yes, I really do." That was absolutely fantastic. I really, like gave me goosebumps. It was just so cool. The ice truck killer is a close second for me for best adversary to Dexter. I don't want to say like villain, because as you'll see in some certain seasons, Dexter's main opponent isn't necessarily a bad person. Mainly in seasons pretty much in season 2, actually. The identity of the ice truck killer, it was, I wrote here, predictable, but not predictatastic. So I guess that means no, I know what it means. I wrote this pretty recently, so I don't remember exactly what I was thinking. But I was able to guess, I'm pretty sure he's the ice truck killer. And then when they revealed it, I was like, I knew it. But not oh, that's so dumb, it's predictable. It's yeah, I knew it, that kind of thing. And a good twist when they revealed that the ice truck killer was his biological brother. I thought that was really cool. I didn't see that coming. The side story with Paul, Rita's ex-husband, was actually really well done. It was short, but you still got a good sense of panic, and the way that Dexter dealt with him shows a lot about his character and how he's starting to develop feelings, which he didn't think he could have. The last scene of season 1, I'm not really going to talk about specific scenes that much, but this one scene showing him just kind of walking through and he's imagining everyone cheering for him really, really was so interesting for me, because I just got such a great idea of how Dexter views himself, and that was just awesome for me. I gave season 1 an A+. This is my 3rd favorite season. It's a lot of people's favorites, but there are 2 that I think are just a little bit better. Season 2, unfortunately, it does start off a little bit slow. The first few episodes are a little kind of boring. Not boring at all, but they're kind of slow, especially compared to the kind of faster pace of the first season. But once it starts to get going, it exponentially just gets more and more exciting. The stakes are a lot higher this season. There's a lot at risk. There wasn't too much at risk in the first one. There's a lot in the second one. The main idea behind this one is Dexter's kind of getting discovered. The Bay Harbor Butcher, a diver, pretty much discovers all of Dexter's bodies that he's been dumping into the ocean. And that was a great shot too, of the diver just like finding all these bodies. That was really cool. But Dexter kind of has to struggle with hiding all of this. And this was really, really interesting how he does this. And then Sergeant Dokes really starts to get on his trail. And he never liked Dexter from the beginning, but now he really doesn't like Dexter. And their relationship kind of gives one of my favorite scenes in the entire show, is when Dokes confronts Dexter when he's in his kind of back forensics room in the police department, and Dexter just headbutts him and then walks out, and then Dokes attacks them and right in front of everybody. That was friggin' awesome. It's like Dokes, he started out funny. Season 1 he was always kind of funny. Beginning of Season 2 he was pretty funny, but now he's starting to become a major threat. And later in the cabin we do see him start to develop a lot more as a character, and I really did like that. Lila was really cool. When Dexter goes to the the anonymous drug assembly and he meets Lila, that was a really, really interesting relationship, because at first I actually really liked Lila. I actually liked her more than Rita, because at that point I wasn't really hugely invested in Rita. I didn't like her that much as a character. She was kind of irritating to me. So I liked Lila. And then I immediately regretted that decision. Not immediately, after a few episodes, because Lila really started to become... But really, what made this season so great was later when Dexter finally has Dokes captured in his cabin. Absolutely great scenes between Dokes and Dexter just... Such a dilemma with him trying to figure out whether or not he should kill Dokes. When Lila did eventually come in later and kill Dokes, I did feel like it was kind of cheating, and it really did get Dexter out of what could have been one of his defining moments, but I still loved it. It was a really good way to resolve the plot, especially because so early in the show, it couldn't have happened any other way, really. It manages to improve on Season 1, just everything about it just tweaked a little bit to be a little bit better. Season 2 is absolutely fantastic. It is my second favorite season, and I also give it an A+. However, that kind of comes to a halt in Season 3. After Season 1 and Season 2 were on such an adrenaline high, it was just so great, such a new show, and then Season 3 really brings it down a notch. It wasn't, like, boring or bad by any means, but just compared to the other two, it was eh. And also... It was sandwiched between Season 2 and Season 4, which are two of the most exciting seasons. So, Season 3 was kind of like a little... I don't know what I'm looking for. This is Season 3. It did have an interesting concept that Dexter kills someone outside of Harry's code, but it also isn't really... For the first time, because he eventually will do it a lot. But he doesn't really... But it's out of self-defense, so it's not really as huge of a deal as it wouldn't necessarily be if he just killed someone. But it is because of one of his kills that it happened, so it is really his fault. He is kind of torn up about it. So that idea it was an interesting idea, but it didn't really flesh it out enough. They kind of moved on quickly to Miguel. Now, Miguel was kind of on and off from me, because sometimes I thought he was really interesting, especially towards the end of his character arc. He was pretty interesting, but I had trouble believing him at the beginning. I didn't think Dexter would actually trust him, and that was kind of it was addressed like Dexter didn't want to, but for some reason I still didn't believe it. Miguel's plot arc in the end, Miguel as the villain of the season, was cool. I did like him. He ended it well. The entire side plot with like the Miami police trying to catch the Skinner, I almost completely forgot about it. I was just reading a synopsis to make sure I hit everything I wanted to talk about, and I forgot that the Skinner even existed until I read that synopsis. So the Skinner is kind of uninteresting to me. Not memorable. This is the season that Quinn was introduced to replace Dokes. I love Quinn. Quinn is one of my favorite characters in the show. He's probably, like, besides Dexter, might even be my favorite. I really, really did like Quinn. And I liked how he was prevalent more in these seasons, because later, I'll talk about that later, but later Quinn starts to kind of go down. But this season, I really did like Quinn. He has a really interesting thing, because he's the corrupt cop, but he's also a nice guy, and he's a really complex character. I liked Quinn a lot. The wedding at the end of the finale was good, too. It was a high note to end the season on, and I like that, too. I give Season 3 an A-, and it is my 6th favorite season out of 8. So it's like the third worst still gets an A-, so you know you're in for something good. And then Season 4, my god, Season 4, the Trinity Killer is just... Okay, wait, I'll get to that later. But it starts off kind of like Season 2, a little bit slow, nothing major is happening. It's still interesting, like the whole thing with Dexter falling asleep, crashing the cart, and losing one of his bodies was really cool because he didn't really know. That's one of the few times when Dexter isn't in control and he has no idea what's going to happen. And that was really cool to see Dexter in that position. Seeing Dexter adapting to his family life with Rita and Cody and Aster was really cool. It really showed a different side of him that we hadn't really seen before. They kind of touched on it, especially in season 3, but now we saw him in a family, and it was really interesting. I was actually happy to see Lundy return. In season 2, I wasn't until the end, I wasn't a huge fan of Lundy and Deb's thing together, but I did like it a lot in this season. But then they did something that I honestly did not expect when they killed Lundy. It was cool. I actually did care about his character a lot more than I thought, and I was pretty sad about it. And I also like how later they reveal that it wasn't Trinity, but in fact Christine that killed him. Christine and Quinn was a cool dynamic going on. This was when Quinn was still at the front of his game, and Christine was also a really interesting character. But I don't know why I'm beating around the bush, because what made season 4 great was the Trinity Killer, played by John Lithgow. Oh my god. Probably the best serial killer, anything. Oh my god. It was so great. He was so scary, so threatening, yet he showed his completely different side of himself. In the Arthur Mitchell versus the Trinity Killer, any scenes between Arthur Mitchell and when Dexter was pretending to be Kyle Butler were absolutely great, because they were both hiding something, and they both knew the other person was hiding something, kind of, even if Arthur kind of only knew it in the back of his mind. It was really cool. I really loved him. Trinity's cycle and the reason for it is also really great. Like, it kind of gives more motive than certain certain people have had in the series, even though I don't know, actually, not really. I'm thinking about later in the series. So far, everyone's had a pretty good motive. The relationship between Trinity and Christine, who was revealed to be his daughter, which I also did not expect. There were a lot of unexpected plot twists in this one, especially towards the end. But Christine and Trinity together was really cool. I liked their relationship a lot. It was interesting, and a father-daughter dynamic you really don't usually see. Hungry Man, the Thanksgiving episode, is my favorite episode of the series. It was just stunning. When Dexter, as Kyle Butler, goes into to the Trinity's family life, it was like I was stunned. I did not expect the thing. The moment when Trinity catches Jonah's hands and then breaks his fingers, I was in so much shock. That was probably my favorite moment of the entire series. The death of Rita at the very end of season 4, I was so shocked. Even though I knew that Rita was going to die. I had someone spoiled to me. I didn't know when or how, but I knew that Rita died at some point over the course of the show. I was so shocked. Once I realized what was happening, the way that how they had Harry bathed in Rita's blood, similarly to how Dexter was bathed in his own mother's blood, was awesome. It came together so well. And killing Rita, I think, was a good move for the show, because it really did kind of emphasize what had happened that season. And Rita could have still been an important character, but I think her arc had ended and she had really served an important purpose for the show. It's by far my favorite season, pretty much all due to Trinity. Like, he's just absolutely fantastic. His dynamic with Dexter is great. I give this season an A+, like maximum A+. I could not have asked for a single thing more from this season. It's my favorite season. I'm probably going to cut the video now because I think I'm nearing 15 minutes, and I think that's my video limit. So this is part 1. I'll get to the other 4 seasons and kind of an overall thing next video. Alright, bye.